This is Auto User Guide, where we help you understand your vehicle better. Today, we are covering all information related to major engine services for the Chevrolet Malibu 2016 to 2025 models. Service intervals. Engine oil needs to be changed every 7,500 to 10,000 miles, which comes out to around 12,000 to 16,000 kilometers. If you drive in tough conditions or put a lot of load on your engine, sticking to the lower end of that range is the better call. Engine coolant has a much longer life. The first replacement comes at around 150,000 miles. After that, it needs to be swapped out every 50,000 miles going forward. It keeps your engine temperature in check, so keeping it fresh is something you don't want to skip. Brake fluid should be replaced every 2 years, or somewhere between 45,000 to 60,000 miles, whichever one comes first. Over time, it absorbs moisture, and that slowly reduces how well your brakes respond. Engine oil. Engine oil capacity. Alright, so when it comes to engine oil capacity, the amount your car needs depends on the size of its engine. Not every engine drinks the same. If your car runs a 1.5-liter turbo engine, the total oil capacity, including the filter, is 4.2 US quarts, which comes out to about 4.0 liters. That's your number every time you do an oil change. Now, if your car has a 2.0-liter turbo engine, it's going to need a little more. The capacity there, again, including the filter, goes up to 5.0 US quarts, or roughly 4.8 liters. And if your vehicle is equipped with a 1.8-liter hybrid engine, the oil capacity, including the filter, is approximately 5.3 US quarts, which equals around 5.0 liters. Recommended engine oil. Now let's talk about which engine oil you should be using. The recommendation is to go with a genuine engine oil, or any good quality commercial engine oil, if it matches the right type and viscosity for the temperature in your area. That last part matters more than people realize. The oil that works well in a cold climate isn't always the best choice for somewhere hot, so always check the viscosity chart and pick accordingly. On the topic of synthetic oil, you can use it. Synthetic motor oil is perfectly fine as long as two things check out. It carries the API certification seal, and it matches the viscosity grade your engine calls for. If both boxes are ticked, you're good to go. Change engine oil and oil filter. Before anything else, change your oil and filter based on the maintenance message that shows up on your driver information display. That message is your reminder. Don't ignore it. Here's how the full process goes. Step 1. Start the engine and let it run until it reaches its normal operating temperature. Once it's warmed up, turn it off. Warm oil drains out much more easily than cold oil. Step 2. Open the hood and take off the engine oil fill cap. This helps the oil drain smoothly by allowing air in. Step 3. Get under the car and locate the undercover. Remove the Phillips head screws and slotted head screws by turning them 90 degrees counterclockwise. Then pull the undercover off. Step 4. Find the drain bolt at the bottom of the engine. Remove it along with the washer and let the old oil drain completely into a container placed underneath. Step 5. Remove the oil filter and let any remaining oil inside it drain out as well. Set it aside for proper disposal. Step 6. Before putting on a new filter, check that the old filter gasket didn't stick to the engine's contact surface. This is a small but important check. A leftover gasket can cause an oil leak. Step 7. Clean the contact surface on the engine block, wiping away any dirt or dust. Then install a fresh oil filter. Step 8. Put a new washer on the drain bolt and reinstall it back into the engine. Step 9. Pour in the recommended engine oil. Make sure you're using the right type and the correct amount for your engine size. Step 10. Put the oil fill cap back on securely and start the engine. Step 11. Let the engine run for a few minutes, then get underneath and check around the drain bolt and oil filter for any leaks. If you see drips, shut the engine off and address it before going further. Step 12. Turn the engine off and wait for about 3 minutes. This gives the oil time to settle. Then pull out the dipstick and check that the oil level is right where it should be. Reset the gauge. After you've changed the engine oil, there's one more thing you need to do: reset the oil life gauge. If you skip this step, the car won't know the oil has been changed and will keep showing you an inaccurate reading. Here's how to do it on your car. Turn the ignition on. Step 1. Turn the ignition on. Step 3. Access the vehicle information menu. Step 4. Select the oil life. Step 5. Open the reset function. Step 6. Confirm the reset. Step 7. Turn the ignition off. Step 8. Void the reset. Now we're moving on to coolant and fluid specifications. Keeping your coolant at the right level is just as important as your engine oil. It keeps your engine from overheating and running into serious problems. Engine coolant, radiator. Before you touch anything, make sure both the engine and the radiator are completely cool. Never open the radiator cap on a hot engine. The pressure inside can cause boiling coolant to spray out and burn you. Once everything is cool, place your hand on the radiator cap and turn it just 1/8 of a turn counterclockwise. This releases any built-up pressure inside the cooling system. Give it a moment to settle. Now push the cap down and continue turning it counterclockwise to fully remove it. Look inside and check the coolant level. It should be right up to the base of the filler neck. If it's sitting lower than that, go ahead and top it up with the correct coolant. Once the level is good, place the radiator cap back on and tighten it fully. Make sure it's secure before you close the hood. Engine coolant, reserve tank. Again, before checking anything, make sure the engine and radiator have cooled down completely. Now locate the reserve tank. It's a small, translucent container usually sitting near the radiator. Look at the side of the tank and check where the coolant level sits. If it's below the minimum mark, add the specified coolant slowly until it reaches the maximum mark. Don't go above it. Once the level is good, take a moment to inspect the cooling system for any leaks. Look around the hoses, the radiator, and the reserve tank itself. If you notice any drips or wet spots, that's something that needs attention before you drive the car. Now, let's talk about replacement of brake fluid. Checking your brake fluid is straightforward. On the side of the brake fluid reserve tank, you'll notice two markings, a minimum and a maximum line. Your fluid level should always be sitting somewhere between those two marks. If the level is at or near the minimum mark, you need to top it up. Don't let it drop below that line. Low brake fluid can affect how your brakes respond, and that's not something you want to find out about while you're driving. At the same time, don't overfill it past the maximum mark either. Just keep it in between and you're in good shape. One thing worth mentioning for those driving a manual transmission model, your brake fluid reserve tank also takes care of the clutch fluid. It's the same tank serving both systems. So, as long as you're keeping the brake fluid level between the minimum and maximum marks like we just discussed, you don't need to check the clutch fluid separately. It's already covered. Tire rotation schedule. Tire rotation is one of those maintenance steps that people often overlook, but it makes a real difference in how long your tires last. Generally, you should be rotating your tires every 5,000 to 10,000 kilometers. If your vehicle manufacturer recommends a different interval, go with that instead. Tires without rotation marks. The diagram on screen shows the rotation pattern for tires without rotation marks. These are also called non-directional tires. Because they don't have a fixed direction of rotation, you have more flexibility in how you rotate them. In this pattern, the front left tire moves straight back to the rear left position, and the front right tire moves straight back to the rear right position. Then, at the next rotation interval, the rear tires cross over, the rear left moves to the front right, and the rear right moves to the front left. This cross-rotation method spreads the wear more evenly across all 4 tires, which helps them last longer overall. Tires with rotation marks. The diagram on screen now shows the pattern for tires with rotation marks, commonly known as directional tires. You'll notice an arrow on the sidewall of these tires, and that arrow tells you which direction the tire is meant to spin. It only works one way. Because of that, you can't cross these tires from one side of the vehicle to the other. The rotation here is simpler. Tires just swap between front and rear on the same side. The front left goes to the rear left comes up to the front left, and the exact same thing happens on the right side. It's a straightforward swap, just without the crossing over that you do with non-directional tires. Now let's talk about the fuel tank capacity. Your fuel tank holds a total of 18.5 US gallons, which is equal to 70 liters. Depend on the models. Thanks for watching this video. I really hope it helped you understand things a little better. If you found it useful, give it a like. And if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next one. Drop your thoughts or questions in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. It genuinely means a lot.